Okay, so we'll make a start to this meeting. Welcome everyone. This is a meeting of the Staffing Standing Committee. Public question time. We haven't got any members of the public here today. The meeting is going to be recorded and subsequently featured on our YouTube channel. Do any other recordings? Does anyone want to make any other recordings? Apologies for absence, please, Jane.
Councillor Wilson, Councillor Colling and Councillor Morgan as emailed out earlier this afternoon for the reasons given.
Can I see is everyone accepting those reasons? Thank you. Items on the agenda to be discussed in private session.
So I'm suggesting that item 262711 appraisal is heard in private session because that contains confidential employment information relating to the Clark team, and it may be that item 262716 other staffing matters, parts of that, if not the entirety, may need to be heard in private session, but perhaps you can make your mind up about that at the time.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Anybody else got anything that they wish to have discussed in private? No? Okay, thank you. Next item is responsibilities to maintain confidentiality. So it's a shame that we haven't got the full committee here this evening, and I have to think of a way of ensuring that everyone hears what's being discussed here. This has, well, to start off by saying, in my view, this particular committee probably deals with more matters of sensitivity and therefore potential confidentiality than any other committee, for the obvious reasons, hopefully, in terms of dealing with staff concerns and personal matters, etc. So it came to our attention, as in it was passed on to me via the Clark team, that information had got out to somebody outside of the committee from the last staffing committee, the extraordinary staffing committee that we held on the 5th of January, which was primarily, if you remember, about the complaint that had been received. And information had got out, and I'll say a little bit more about the information, but that shouldn't have done.
This was before the full council meeting, because obviously the full council meeting referred to quite a bit that was on that agenda in a very oblique way, didn't it? But it was prior to that.
Well, the minutes from that last meeting went to full council, and there was a little bit of talking about that around that.
Yeah, but it
about
was
that
prior
report.
to that.
No, it was actually since.
So
since
people
then.
would have been questioning and wanting to know what it was about, would they? I'm just asking.
Well, it's my reading of it is that, without having investigated, but my reading of it is that there was an item that came to that meeting. There were several items came to that meeting, but there was one in particular item that was distributed. So it came from Jen. I'd invited Jen to put those comments forward because it's something we'd spoken about prior to the meeting, I think, as well, if I remember rightly. And it was distributed to those present in hard copy and then collected in afterwards. And as far as I know, destroyed afterwards. My reading of it is that somebody outside of the committee learned that had happened, but hasn't necessarily got the content of that particular item.
Yes, so it's quite clear that they know it existed, it was handed out, it was collected back in. And the issue for me, and I don't mind this being on the video, being on record, the issue for me is that I was asked to provide that information in confidence to the staffing committee. I was concerned enough about it to say to Lawrence that I wanted it given out at the meeting and collected back in. So clearly I was concerned about it being kept confidential, and now, you know, that hasn't, it's undoubtedly been leaked, that that document existed and was shared and discussed at the staffing meeting. And you know, I am very angry and also full of anguish about that. Because, you know, the staffing committee, as you know, is basically my line manager. So, you know, you all act collectively as my line manager, and to think that I can't have trust and confidence in that is, you know, a very big issue for me.
Beyond presumably just that particular event and that particular item, it's more generally, well, if I can't trust you with this,
Absolutely.
then
Yes.
Okay. And which means in effect that this committee cannot carry out its role effectively and properly, if that is the case, if things are leaking from this committee.
So it's the question of what we, you know, it was to, you know, make it clear that this has happened, to throw it open to what we feel, how we feel we should respond as a committee to this, but to learn from it either which way, you know, that this has happened, and, you know, we've taken it forward.
I'm just wanted to be clear about this. The information is. Are we talking about how you responded? That itemised response, is that? You know, you respond. Yes, I'm on the right.
Well, there was a response. It also included things, and you know, to be careful here. You know, don't say too much because we are in public session here. But it did. You know, I knew prior to that meeting that about how the whole complaint thing had impacted the staff and Jen in particular, and wanted to give Jen that opportunity to share that with that committee.
Yes, no.
So
I remember being very impressed by it, actually. You know, very thorough it was. But, you know, I don't just. I'm scrutinising myself.
Are there any next steps then? So what's the proposal?
Well,
To investigate what happened, or
I think what Lawrence wanted by having this item here is to just say, almost at the start of the meeting, just to remind, you know, the staffing committee that it has got a responsibility to maintain confidentiality. I don't know if you want to come to what might happen about that in the other staffing matters, Lawrence, rather than in this session.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah. Is that okay?
yeah, that's fine.
So, all at this point, just ask, you know, that it is obviously noted, you know, the extreme importance of maintaining that confidentiality. And we'll take it on from there. Okay, item 05, members' personal disclosable pecuniary interests in any items on the agenda. Has anyone got anything? I think you'll probably have something. Anybody else got anything to declare?
So mine comes into the next item, 26/27/06, officers' interests. So I have an interest in 26/27/09, staffing and staff training budget 2025/26 and 26/27. And I've also got an interest in item 26/27/10, the 2026 staff pay awards, and also in item 26/27/11, appraisal supervision, and also in 26/27/16 other staffing matters. So I'll need to report on some of these items to give information, and it may be appropriate that I leave the room whilst some discussion is being undertaken.
Can we
by
see
the
as we go
committee.
along? Yeah, is that okay? receipt of revised DPI. It was my one, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that's to note by the committee, and
Okay.
it will also be noted at the annual council meeting on the 18th of May.
Thank you. 08 is.
And then
sorry.
just to note as well,
Oh yeah, sorry.
you had circulated my updated DPI. This is a voluntary measure undertaken by the clerk team in the interest of transparency. Obviously, our DPIs aren't open to public scrutiny in the same way, but they are kept on file at the HVPC office.
Thank you. Okay, noted. 08 is minutes of that meeting from the 5th of January that we've just been talking about. With quite a number of matters arising from this, some of which kind of overlap a little bit with what we've just been saying, but that we won't go into at this point. Do you have any views as to whether we should? There's been other developments since that particular meeting, and I have kept people updated actually with what's been happening as we've gone along. Do you have any views as to whether we should perhaps deal with this under the staffing matters?
I think probably it should be dealt with under other staffing matters.
Okay.
What I can say is that the minutes from 252628 other staffing matters from the meeting on the 3rd of November, they have been amended. So those minutes are now ready, have been approved and are ready for signing after this meeting.
Right, thanks.
And also, just to remind everyone that minute 252642, the update regarding the complaint, those learning points were shared with and approved at full council on the 2nd of February
Thank you.
2026.
Okay. There was one other thing that we dealt with in that meeting on the 5th of January, which was about the thing that Glenn was working on with that AI and so on. And there wasn't too much to report at that point, but I'm thinking, having seen all that's in this, the what do you call it, workflow project, I think it gets picked up in that. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Right, so we shall move on then and return to these other items, these other matters under the later item. So 09 staffing and staff training budgets.
Just to reiterate what's in the narrative really, in that £96,108 was committed to the salaries budget with an outturn at year end of £99,519.42. So that was £3,411.42 over budget. As has been previously reported, the underspend was due to a miscalculation of uplifts when the original budget was set.
Does that mean underspend or overspend?
Overspend, sorry. Well spotted. Yes, and I know we've gone over the reasons for that miscalculation. It's an earlier meeting. So the 25-26 staff training budget had an outturn of £1,302.80. So that is an underspend. And then to go on to the 2026 and 2027 salaries budget, that stands at £104,316 and was based on a predicted annual uplift for all 3 staff members, based on a national pay award, which is not yet resolved, and also taking into account the possible awarding of an incremental point for one team member not yet at the top of their salary scale. Unfortunately, our pension provider incorrectly advised that our employer pension rate would be frozen at 12.2% of salary. On the 1st of April, the parish council was informed that the employer pension rate would be 14.9% of the salary, and that's leading to a variance of £2,816.53. So, talking to Rich about this, his advice is that any shortfall in the staffing budget for this year be met by drawing upon general reserves at the appropriate time. We are aware that in a previous year you did create a earmark reserve for it. Rich feels that this is the best way to approach it, but it's really your decision as a staffing committee how you want to deal with it. What's important, I suppose, is to note for the record that there is going to be that variance and the reason behind it.
And whatever we decide here would be a recommendation. Is it to F&M or to full council?
Full council.
So can I ask what Richard's reasons were for doing it out of general reserves rather than what was the actually?
I think the problem of creating an earmark reserve for it is you create another bureaucratic needing to get permission to
actually spend it?
Yes.
Okay, well, you don't have to for general reserve?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so, and you don't know the exact amount as well, I guess, do you? Is that?
The variance at the moment, as it's been calculated, is 2,816.53.
Okay.
Can I ask though, at this moment in time, do we know when the salary budget will be agreed? Do we know when the uplift will be confirmed?
We don't. I mean, this does come in later into the agenda. We don't.
Right.
And because there's clearly dispute around it,
Yeah.
and whether that will lead to industrial action, I don't know, but that could then delay it.
So there's no point then in delaying moving the 2,800, which is shortfall in the pension contribution, until we've gone to the other one, because then we'll know. If you see what I mean, we know there's 2,800 out, but there could also be more money out on the other one. But if we've no idea when that's going to happen, it could be another 6 months before that gets resolved. So
Yeah.
right, okay.
So I guess that phrase "at the appropriate time" is quite pertinent then.
Yeah.
Do we need a resolution?
Well, that depends on what action you want to take. I mean, if you do want to create an EMR, as you have done in previous years, then you'd need a resolution to do that, a recommendation to go to full council.
But if it's general reserves, we don't.
You-
Or
you-
is it better if we do? Probably better if we do.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. So I propose that we, let me phrase this correctly, any shortfall will be drawn from general reserves at the appropriate time.
Yeah, seconded.
Okay.
In favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think there's anything else to decide upon on that particular item, is there?
no, that's lovely.
Thanks. And then moving on to item 10, the staff pay awards, the 2026 pay awards.
Can I make a suggestion that we actually hear that after the item on appraisal, because
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
it makes sense,
Yeah.
because I'm going to ask you to consider.
So the next item is the appraisal supervision. So as I understand it, the appraisals will be from two sources.
Yeah, and we're going to go into confidential session for this.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Right.
Is there much to say apart from, I mean, in terms of the information about the National Pay Awards, it's pretty much as we've got it down here in the notes? Yeah.
It is, yes. So there are a couple of motions, possible motions for the committee to consider. The first is to approve the backdating to the beginning of April 2026 and paying out the next appropriate pay point without delay, the National Pay Award once settled. So what you're really doing is anticipating and making sure there's a resolution that means that when the pay award does come through, whenever that is, we don't have to wait for another staffing committee meeting. So that's one to consider. And the other one is following the conclusion of a successful appraisal cycle for 25-26, approving the awarding of an incremental point for the assistant clerk backdated to the beginning of April 2026 to be awarded at the next appropriate pay point. So Gemma will move from point 22 to point 23. So she'll move from, when the money is prorated, from £22,063.22 to £23,270.
And is this is in response in particular to the appraisal of her? So I've moved through this. Does anyone want to ask any questions firstly about the information that was sent out about the National Play Award? No? So we're looking for resolutions basically. So first resolution is that when it is approved, we are when it's agreed at national level, we will action that at that time.
So that it can be.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. The second one was about the incremental
Yes.
point to award one incremental point to the assistant clerk, noting the appraisal, but also just, because should we be doing that anyway?
Yeah.
All in favour?
Can I just ask, I assume that the figures that you gave us for Gemma, based on the point increase, are the old figures, not the new figures that will be?
We don't know what the figures
Yeah,
will be
exactly,
in 2026.
exactly.
Yeah. So this is based on the April 2025.
So it'll be the increase of point plus the National Play Award.
Yeah.
Thought that was the case, but just confirm. Yeah, I'm in favour.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it on the item?
I think so.
Yeah. Thank you. Moving on then to the reviews of the 3 policies that we have on complaints, disciplinary and grievance. So this, if you remember, this was particularly thrown up. I think we were already aware that it was pretty clunk and needed reviewing. And it was thrown into focus, I think, when we were dealing with that last complaint. It wasn't entirely fit for purpose. Plus, 2 of the 3 policies there had actually already been reviewed by NALC. So I'm going to. It's the complaints procedure. Can I take if you don't mind, can I take the disciplinary and the grievance ones first? Because I think they're going to be pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Is that okay? And the reason that I'm suggesting...
Which one are you taking?
So I was taking number 13, disciplinary policy first. Is that okay? Yeah, E.
Thank you.
And the reasons that I'm taking these 2 first is because they are both pretty much lifted from the latest NALC models. Which in themselves have been taken on legal advice and ACAS, etc. So we know that they're legally compliant, well we assume they're legally compliant, and much more detailed, much clearer.
Yes.
When you've got model policies like this, I think you tamper with your appellant.
Yes.
Because a lot of, as you just explained, a lot of those have already gone into them, and it also it gives you a defence as well if you're following a model policy,
Yes.
which is nationally recognised. So I would suggest that we accept them without any amendment to the substantive parts.
Is there anything you wanted to say
on
the disciplinary one first?
So with the disciplinary one, there is just one thing that I need to clarify. In fact, I might have to just contact NALC about it, because on page 40 of your pack, paragraph 36, the appeal, grounds for appeal include 1, a failure by the council to follow its disciplinary policy. 2, the subcommittee did not support the subcommittee's disciplinary decision. I don't understand that.
No, I didn't. Yes.
So I
You
think
highlighted that, you know.
it may be that you want to approve recommending the policy to full council, subject to
Clarify.
that being
Yeah.
clarified,
Yes.
because I can't make any sense of that.
Mm.
Well, is it just like a typo and it should be the council did not support the subcommittee's disciplinary decision?
Is it the sub? Oh, hang on. Yeah, no, discipline. So this
What's a-
is it the subcommittee?
No, does it really? Well, it's ambiguous, quite out, you know, we
Mm.
can interpret
Yeah.
it several different ways, can't we? The ambiguity
Yeah.
is what we don't like.
Yeah. It's definitely ambiguous, isn't it, if nothing else? So whether it's a typo or ambiguity, I'm not sure, but I will get that resolved before the policy is prepared to put in front of the annual council meeting.
The only other question I had on this was, is this consistent with the terms in the employment contract that we have with yourselves?
I'm sure it will be,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Not
as
just
it,
that point. I mean, generally
Hmm.
that policy.
I've not done a like black. I'm absolutely sure that it will be, but it's something that we can check up on.
Okay. Thanks.
I'll put that as an action for me.
That was fun. That aside, we've it's been moved that we recommend that this is adopted. Is that seconded? All in favour? Thank you. Is that okay for you?
Yeah. So you're recommending it to annual council for approval.
Right.
So because it has to be full council that approves a policy such as that.
The second one I'm going to do is the grievance policy, which again is lifted from the current NALC model. So this is item F.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions or anything you want to raise, Jan?
No, I thought. I mean, it's better than the previous one. I think they have improved it, which is helpful. It's all straightforward, I think.
I think a lot of these, it's not until you come to use them
Yeah.
you realise.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
dear.
I mean, I look at it, I don't feel I'm an expert on these
No.
types of things, so I don't honestly feel I can comment, but do we feel that it would have worked in the last scenario?
Well, the grievance didn't come to be actually tested.
No, so,
Other than that there is the argument, there is the, I think within the wording that it should be dealt with at the earliest possible and in most informal
yes.
sort of process.
Yes.
But that's true for all of them really.
Yes, yes.
I think the only thing to know for me is that if you look at the appeals, there's 4 reasons for appeals can be raised. And there were 4 reasons in the previous document, and 3 of them were exactly the same basically. Apart from the one that's confusing, which in this one says the decision was not supported by the evidence. So I think that's probably the one that, so if you look at the other 3,
Yeah.
they're very much in line with the one on the previous document. So I think that's probably,
Yeah.
you're going to get some form of an answer about that, that basically evidence did not support the decision.
Yeah.
So
Makes more sense.
Yeah.
are we happy to recommend that this is adopted?
Yes.
Yes, all in favour? Thank you. Okay, Pete.
Lovely.
Right, so just going back to the complaints procedure, the review of the complaints procedure, which there wasn't, was it not a satisfactory model or not a model at all?
I couldn't find a model. I mean, different councils do have complaint procedures, but there isn't one on YRCA, there's not one on NALC, and there's not one on SLCC.
Well, that
So,
goes,
I didn't look at theirs, so, well, apart from, they've got a complaint it was really difficult to find anything. So in the end, a lot of this is been produced through, you know, I put in what I thought ought to be in, and then let AI work its magic in terms of coming up with steps and so forth, because I think one of the things we felt was the complaints procedure we've got now is quite opaque and difficult for people to know what they should be doing and when. So what I've tried to do with this is absolutely nail things to the last, if you like, in terms of having timings in, who deals with it, all these step-by-step procedures.
Really nice.
You know, so that was the reason for it. I know Mary has suggested that section 10 that you'll find on page 16, the unreasonable or vexatious complaints, that may need expanding or looking at to make it more robust. Because at the moment, all it says is the council may restrict communication where behaviour is abusive, persistent or unreasonable, which is, you know, it's a bit of a catch-all phrase, isn't it? But it doesn't actually give much.
I feel it does need strengthening, and you know, come from some recent experience at school about schools about vexatious complaints and so on. So unfortunately, it's pretty rife, and AI, magical though it might be, has also made it possible for complainants to produce, you know, really legally robust looking documents. So I think we may never need it, but I do feel that it needs. I feel that it needs to be there. And I did look, and some other parish councils do have vexatious, have a statement about vexatious complaints. Quite a few of them really. So I wondered if perhaps we need an extra, maybe an extra statement in there alongside, because I think an unreasonable complaint, it needs, in some circumstances it would need to be halted during it. And there needs to be some way of deciding what is a vexatious complaint. And it's possible, and one way is to appoint a small group, and which would include, and this is what I've taken from looking at others, including an external person who would decide whether the complaint is unreasonable or vexatious.
They would need some sort of terms of reference, really, wouldn't they? But that could be contained within that statement.
I suggest that could be perhaps as an appendix to the document. Maybe just what perhaps another couple of sentences. I'm happy to work if the committee agrees. I'm happy to work with Jen on the wording, on that wording, and then.
Just to say, we did try to organise a meeting with all three of us, but we just sort of ran out of time, and it couldn't be done. So it makes sense to do further work on this, quite definitely.
That's what it reads. To council may restrict communication. What's that mean?
Well, I mean, certainly you've come across this. You said.
Yeah, well, it's not a strong enough. That's not a strong enough statement in my
What does it even mean?
I've no idea.
My experience certainly is that with working within councils on the complaint side is that there are sometimes people who, if you like, just can't let things go, and so they're given the response according to procedure, etc. And an awful lot of patience and tolerance very often, and then it's got to a point where a senior officer will write a stern letter, or legal will write a stern letter and say,
this is the end.
Okay,
that's what it means.
Or the restriction communications is something means that you cannot telephone, you cannot have an in-person meeting. The oral communication must be in writing. I assume that's what that refers to, but I do think we need perhaps a stronger stance that actually some complaints should just be stopped. Decided they are vexatious or unreasonable, and taking far too much of staff time. And repeated complaints. I mean, if you think that, if you look at the police statement of vexatious complaints, it's got quite a long list of
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Yes, so that would be
what we
helpful.
there is no clear, simple definition. So how many communications is how many? I don't think you can really say, but there is a long list of the characteristics of vexatious complaints on
Okay.
queries.
I guess
So
it would
yes,
come
it-
down to sort of reasonableness, and very often
Yes.
that
Yeah.
term does come into things,
Yeah.
doesn't it? You know,
It's difficult.
we think
yes.
we've acted as reasonably as we
Yeah.
can, and now it's reasonable to say no more.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're going to add this as an appendix, is that you're going to?
Well, I'm suggesting that perhaps Jen could work on that as an appendix and strengthen the statement there at section 10
Yeah.
to say that in terms that some complaints will not be fully investigated or will cease halt
Yes.
the investigation of some complaints.
Mm.
Okay.
And presumably, I mean, you won't be starting from scratch, as you said. You know, you've always seen that there's a lot of stuff out there and stuff you've come across through school and so on. Yeah.
I mean, just to say, it's possible. At the moment, it's saying that formal complaints go either to staffing or full council, and I did wonder whether, should they go to either staffing or finance and management, so that there's always the chance of an appeal to go to full council. But I don't know whether you're just not putting in extra work for yourselves really by doing that. I mean, there is a sense to having the things that go straight to full council go to full council rather than through finance and management first.
And just saying, sorry, you go.
The only thing I would say on that, back to your point about staffing committee and full council, in point 6 on the initial assessment, it mentions determining whether the matter should be handled by the clerk. Now, that's not really true, is it? The clerk's never going to handle the complaint. The clerk needs to be involved, depending on what the complaint is. And I just wonder whether or not that, because it implies that the clerk can deal with the complaint. And that's not really correct, is it?
Actually, there are I mean, I'm just thinking of a recent example we had where someone, I don't think they were exactly complaining, but talked about that they couldn't see the video, couldn't view that. So, or it could have been, even if it wasn't a complaint, it could have become a complaint. And I kind of think, you know...
But there's no formal process for how you deal with it in this document. There's a formal process for how staffing and full council deal with it, but there's no formal process for the clerk. So I think, you need to make it clear that the clerk's there as part of the process rather than making the decision. Or B, you need to put something, if the clerk is going to deal directly with a complaint, then you need to put some information in as to how you're going to deal with it. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Just on this, so we're assuming we've got stage 5, there is formal complaint exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that
And
point,
we've
it's got to go to either staffing or
to
full
the
council. It
initial-
can't come to the clerk,
Yeah.
can it?
Can't come to the clerk, no. I mean, obviously, if you're at an informal stage or in
That's
kind of
different.
minor
Yeah.
complaints that arise, the clerk would deal with
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
But by the time you've got
Yeah.
a formal process.
So the
then-
clerk's involved at an earlier point,
It's
but
an
not at
earlier
that
point,
point. So
yes.
I think you just need to
Yeah.
remove that and leave it as a staffing committee and full council and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I do have, I mean, one of the things that I have concerns about with our current policy, which I think has been partly addressed in this new one, but not completely, is that there was this almost a default position where if there was too much of a focus just on staff and complaints about, you know, there was assumptions almost that it's bound to be about staffing.
Oh, right, okay.
And you know, and in fact, in the current one, it triggers a disciplinary sort of process. And I really wanted to take that away from that and say, look, it's a complaint about the council
Yes.
Yes.
and the services we are providing or
Yeah.
whatever we do.
Yes.
And in fact, it talks about service provision.
Yes,
And the service provision, you know, if someone complains about the state of the bus shelters, you know, I don't expect that to become a staffing matter.
No.
Yeah. And I mean, that's clear in number 2, in the scope of the procedure does not apply to complaints about councillors, obviously, staff grievances. We need to have this absolute split between staff disciplinary and complaints about the council.
Yeah, but it is, yes,
Yeah.
so, well, the grievance thing, I think,
Yeah.
is kind of separate in this sense, to be honest, but it was, yeah, you know, this assumption that, you know, staff will be in the spotlight
Yeah.
straight away because there's a
Yes,
complaint
and it's-
about something to do with the council. And I think the way it should be, and I've been saying this for a while, is the complaint about the council. If we then decide, look, actually we want to hold staff responsible and accountable for something,
Yeah.
that's a separate private matter. I don't
Yes.
think that should be something, and that's not how the council, how Kirklees operates.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm
Yes,
saying?
I think, I think in general the council's not taking its responsibilities seriously enough, really. I mean, I'm not seeing itself as a, you know, it isn't a body, isn't it? It has a body with a legal existence and complaints against the council and not complaints against the staff.
Well, another example
It's
might be,
such a-
someone puts in a grant application,
Yeah.
it's not dealt with properly, you know, so they've immediately got a claim against the deputy clerk. No,
Yes,
actually, you've got a complaint against the council.
For not
Whether we
ensuring-
hold the deputy clerk responsible then is a separate
Yeah.
matter that I wouldn't even tell the complainant about, to be honest.
I guess the question then is, so back to your point, Lawrence, that you made it. If you get a phone call, Jen, that says, from a member of the public that says the toilets are an absolute disgrace, presumably the first thing you do is you talk to John, you get some information, you talk to John, you get John to go down and have a look, etc. Now,
Yeah.
that's not part of this, is it? That's not, or should it be part of this? Because it's a complaint by a member of the public, isn't it, about services that we offer. But you wouldn't want to
Yeah.
do it under a formal.
No, because that's dealt with as
As
the informal at the lowest possible stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what does happen in
Yeah,
reality.
and that's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an uncommon thing to happen, that we'll get complaints about various things that, you know, we do deal with informally.
Yeah.
So that people raise issues with us, we deal with them, and they never
Yeah.
need to go beyond that.
And that's where you say your informal complaints comes in, isn't it? And it doesn't, but if it doesn't move on to a formal complaint, and somebody puts it in writing and says the council's an absolute disgrace because.
But maybe the full council, we should be informed of those complaints. You know, because out of our council responsibility to know that these complaints are coming in.
And it's also part of the hidden work that
Yes.
the staff team do as well. So are the complaints logged and counted yet? No.
We've not had a log in that way. That I keep them in a file, sort of public correspondence, rather than in there's
But
no
then
reason,
somebody
why you
phones up.
can't.
So,
And says, you know, because again, that's evidence collected that we need to improve the toilets, isn't it? Which is, and so we want, it's a way of us, the council, knowing what the public want and expect.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking back to when I was chair of service provision, you used to copy me
Yeah.
in to that stuff, and I
Yeah.
assume you still
Yeah.
do, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I do.
So there is
It's
that
just
accountability.
Right.
because,
Usually, I mean, if it's very often, what I try to do is copy in the ward councillors. You know, so
Right,
if
yes.
it's something to do with
Yes.
a particular
Yes.
location.
Yeah.
That, you know, so there's
Yes.
people do know about it that way and know how I dealt with it as well, because that way, if the member of the public goes straight to the ward councillor, well, they'll
You
know
said, yes.
what I've done.
So what do we need to approve then?
I think there might be a bit of tweaking still to do, to
Yeah.
make sure.
maybe to tweak it, but
Does this have to go to the annual meeting? If we want to adopt a new policy, can it be adopted at a different time?
It can be adopted at a different time, but if we've not got a new policy or a draft policy at least ready for the annual meeting, then you've still got the old policy there, and that we do not want.
No.
I would
I-
suggest.
So this needs to be approved by full council, does it?
Yeah.
Either an annual meeting or full
Yeah.
council?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So
I
what you
presumably we
suggesting
won't go
that
to
you
the staffing
tweak it?
meeting between now and the next,
No.
the annual.
No, but there's no reason if the committee is happy for myself and Mary to do some further work on it, and that policy that's been worked on to then go to
I think something does
annual
need,
council.
I think something does need to go to full council.
Mm.
I mean, we just see a couple of minor tweaks, like, you know, you picked one up, didn't you?
Mm.
I mean, maybe if you and I work on it, if the other three of you could send us any.
I mean, I feel I should plug into this as well. I'm just
maybe
conscious about
three
time
of us,
because
yeah,
we'll look
because we
away
failed
in 2
to
weeks' time.
meet, didn't we, last time?
So,
I think it's
Yeah.
important it goes to full council.
Yeah.
Or the annual council
Yes,
meeting,
I
if that's
think
the
it's
next one.
a strong.
Because I'd rather get this in place, than there might need to be a couple of tweaks and whatever
Yeah.
you deem they are,
Yeah.
than what we've got in place now. Just in case something happens. I
Yes.
wanted to get it out, I think it's better to get it in place sooner rather than later.
Okay, well, at the very least, I'll send thoughts on this. I think I'm inclined towards trying to make the different standing committees accountable for different things rather than too much come back automatically to staffing. You know, that's my personal thought, you know, so I can drop in some thoughts on that. No, if I can attend a meeting, I will. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
do we need to formally approve that approach? That we're going to leave basically Jen and Mary to work through the document with any comments that come in, to have a document ready for presentation to full council.
What do you feel about doing this by exchange of emails as well?
Yeah, and that's
With this
then
committee?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
And then we can say the staffing committee has approved it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Cool.
Right.
And thanks for the work you've done on it.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
it's-
funny to say that, it's a huge amount of work.
It would. I mean, I think it will. You know, it's a relief to get something that's more workable. So, and I have put down an action to start keeping a log as well of informal complaints.
I think that would be good, and
Yeah,
you know,
I think so.
and it's important that we know
And the
how many
council are
come.
aware of
And I
it.
do, as I said, I think it's also part of the hidden work that this, is it mostly you that deals with them, or
Yeah.
do you, yes, so the hidden work
I
that
would say
Jane,
it's mostly.
that Jane does, that the rest of us never see.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Workflow report. This was impressive, I thought.
Yeah, a really thorough analysis by Gemma in liaison with Glenn. It's being discussed by the Clark team. I know Gemma was quite keen to start on some of the finance changes, but that really needs further discussion within the Clark team. So our first priorities are to set up a shared calendar, make better use of Microsoft 365, establish a recording facility on the phone, and obviously we're also investigating improved video recording. So, you know, we've already made a start on some of these, but what we've really got here is a blueprint for how we can review the workings of the team for, you know, quite some time to come.
Want to say anything else, Glenn?
Gemma did all the work. I talked it through with them. Gemma did all the
She doesn't need project management.
prepared for a lot of this before. I thought we were sitting down to go through to produce something like this, but she'd already done it anyway. So it was quite an easy meeting. We just talked through a lot of things, and I think the thing that I said to her is don't don't put everything down. Even if you think it's not going to happen, put it down, because at some point, you know, you work through you pick off the easy ones to begin with, and there'll be some that are way more complex, and you're not just going to change things overnight. But it looks like there's a document there that could be around for a few years to come as you go through it. But it's all going to make improvements to the way things happen, the way things integrate. And it's sometimes I've seen it too many times when companies do this and do something else, and all of a sudden they've got all this mishmash of stuff. And sometimes you need to consolidate, and it takes time to do it. But you know, Gemma's got a really good handle on the information, and you know what's available, what it's used for, potential improvements. So,
and with costings as well.
yeah.
Well, I love the table. I thought the table was brilliant. You know, with the cost and the benefits, and you know, yeah, both in terms of time and money.
Yeah.
That was really good. How does this fit? Does this make any difference to our thinking into next year with the external review that was being planned?
With the you mean the staffing evaluation? Absolutely.
It must, mustn't it? Because
Yes.
we're trying to reduce, in some ways, some of the burdens, certainly in the long term.
Yeah, because it clearly deals with ways of working, doesn't it?
Has that started yet? Has that been
No, I think it was planned for 26, 27, is that right?
Yeah.
this month?
And budgeted.
Yes.
Sorry?
Oh, this month? No, 26, 20, right, I'm
Yeah,
right.
20,
yes.
19,
I thought
20,
26, 27.
1926. We're behind schedule.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, I kind of really felt this was already making a start on that same
Yeah,
task, you know, in many ways.
yeah, definitely.
But we're paying quite a bit for that.
But we haven't booked it yet, have we?
We haven't booked it, no.
Okay, maybe we don't need to, maybe we've got
Well.
this instead. I mean, I can't remember why we agreed to have that.
It's having the external review, isn't it? That
But
was
it's external,
yes.
the word external is what's significant, isn't it? Yes, okay. Okay.
My feeling, and imagine you know, perhaps your things as well, is keep it on the agenda and keep looking at it and the need, what we need, and so on. And then cost benefit analysis of it.
Yeah, definitely. And she's sort of written her it's like a resume of being a works engineer, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, thank you.
Can we thank Gemma as well for this?
Yes,
You know, it's
indeed.
just- yeah. Again, opens your eyes to how much goes on really behind the scenes of the team do. But we've seen it all written down like this. I mean, we all touch it at various points, don't we? But actually seeing it in the total like this, you realise what complex.
So it
She
Gemma
loves
was-
it. She loves
She
it.
does.
She gets a real buzz from it. When I had the meeting with her, you could see she got a real buzz from it.
And it is that project management sort of.
Yeah, we've not got anything, go away.
Yeah. So we are, in summary, I don't know what you put down, but in summary, I think we're noting it, thanking Gemma, approving that it you know, the priority tasks are pursued.
Yeah.
And look forward to.
So who will
The
monitor?
report.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, the quick fix is not 3 months. Presumably, these will be ticked off as they happen. Is that, who's going to monitor that this is brought into?
Could we
Right,
put it
so-
on as a standing item on the agenda for this committee? You
I
know?
do.
Yeah.
You know, so we keep monitoring
Yeah.
how it's going. Is that all right?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
I
absolutely
mean-
fine.
There'll be some things that are coming. I mean, Gemma's got a really good handle on the first things to be done. and then things will get more complex and possibly costly as well.
Yeah.
So it's at that point where we need to keep a handle on it, because sometimes you may say it's costly, but sometimes the benefit it gives you is worth spending the money on.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Item 16. This is the other staffing matters. Is there anything else we've got looking over? There was just the stuff that came out of confidentiality.
Yeah, so do you want to
I'm thinking we should, we should have this in private session.
right, okay.
Does anyone
Yes.
disagree?
No.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're back into public session. It's 4 minutes after 9. We did agree to suspend standing orders to conclude this item and the remainder of the agenda, which is not too much now. We've had a thorough discussion about a number of staffing matters relating to staff and current situation. Also, the remaining consequences from the 5th of January meeting. We've also talked again about the importance, the desperate importance of confidentiality and upholding that in all council matters, and where it's appropriate and required. And particularly how desperately important it is for this particular committee to do that. It's about duty of care to staff. It's about trust and confidence for the staff in us as the employer. It's also about observing the code of conduct, and there are issues that we need to explore. There was a breach of confidentiality following on from that 5th of January meeting. The agreement is that I, as chair, will write to each of the members of the committee individually to point out what's occurred, their responsibilities, and to ask for any other information that will help me to understand what has actually taken place. And we will see what the outcome from that is and where we go from there. Okay with everybody?
Yeah.
We will agree on that action? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. Nothing else to cover on that? There's one other item on the agenda, I think.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll conclude that item. Oh, I also wanted to say, sorry, I should have said in that item, that I'm aware that this matter has caused distress and concern for staff, and to apologise on behalf of this committee that there's been that breach of confidentiality. Right, moving on, 262717, training received by officers. You ready now?
Yeah, so first of all, noting training received since the staffing committee meeting on the 3rd of November. So Rich has done Canva training regarding assertion 10, VAT and AI. Gemma has had finance coaching from Rich, including on payroll and accounts. She's had neurodiversity training on age-friendly parishes and communications as well. I've had training on Martin's Law, quotes, tenders and contracts, both from the SRCC. So that's just to note. In terms of upcoming training, Gemma has commenced the FILCA, which is the financial equivalent to KILCA. So it just focuses on the financial aspects of council
Is that
administration.
part of the bigger picture, or is that completely separate?
It's separate.
And has
It's
it got
something
equal
separate.
weighting?
It has not got equal weighting, it doesn't take up the same amount of time,
Okay.
but it does lead to certification. So she started that and will be continuing that. We've talked already about possible project management training that we're looking into for Gemma, and possibly more training on video production as well. In terms of Kilka, should Gemma feel ready for that, then that's when we'll talk about that. But at the moment, that's in brackets, if you like. I am looking actively for training on Operation Menai Bridge. I'll say no more about what that is. Martin's Law, the stuff to do with terrorism. And I am also going to make sure that I learn how to upload things to the website, because I haven't yet. So to our new website. Rich hasn't identified any training to receive in this summer yet, but we're going to come back to it when we set his objectives.
You know, there's an active case of applying Martin's Law at the moment to the new development of where the Rugby Hall was, on the car park.
Say that again.
It is Martin's Law that's about the protecting in crowds and so on, isn't it? So that's actively being looked at. So you have a live case if you want to look at that.
Who's looking at that?
I understand that it's been because of the application to set up a market. I won't say too much more. Okay, if there's no further business, I'll bring this meeting to a close at 9:10, and thank you everyone.